Welcome. I'm Athaga Crispy, and today we delve into the tragic and complex case of Oscar Pistorius. This is a story of fame, fear, and fatal decisions, a tale where the lines between hero and villain blur in the most shocking of ways. On the surface, Oscar Pistorius was a symbol of triumph over adversity, a hero who defied the odds and raced against the world's best. But beneath the veneer of success and celebrity, a chilling story was unfolding, one that would captivate and horrify the world. What happened? On February 14, 2013, Valentine's Day, what should have been a celebration of love turned into a tragedy. But what really happened that night? Oscar Pistorius, the man with blades for legs, is he a cold-blooded killer or simply a terrified lover who made a fatal mistake? To understand the gravity of that night, we must first understand the man behind the headlines. Oscar Pistorius, the Blade Runner, a man who became a legend for defying the odds. Born without fibulae, his legs amputated before his first birthday, he could have faded into obscurity. But Oscar possessed a rare inner strength, a determination that led him to become an athlete like no other. Blade Runner? From an early age, Pistorius showed a resilience that defied expectations. His journey into the world of athletics began with rugby, but a knee injury led him to track and field. It was here that he discovered his true calling. Equipped with carbon fiber prosthetics that gave him the nickname Blade Runner, Pistorius set out to prove that disability was no barrier to success. The Olympic Games. In 2004, Pistorius burst onto the global scene at the Athens Paralympic Games, winning gold in the 200 meters. This was just the beginning. At the Beijing Paralympics in 2008, he claimed 3 gold medals, solidifying his status as a Paralympic icon. But Oscar wasn't satisfied with competing solely against other disabled athletes. He had a bigger dream: to race against the best in the world. His ambition led him to the 2012 London Olympics, where he became the first double amputee to compete against able-bodied athletes. Though he did not win a medal, his participation marked a historic moment in sports, breaking down barriers and inspiring millions around the world. But behind the athlete's triumphs, behind the adulation and the fame, there was another side to Oscar Pistorius, a side less visible to the public eye. Oscar was a man haunted by insecurities, a man who struggled with the psychological scars of his disability. Despite his global recognition, he was often consumed by feelings of inadequacy and fear. These fears, according to those close to him, could manifest in unpredictable ways. They were compounded by his upbringing in South Africa, a country with one of the highest crime rates in the world. Oscar grew up in a society where the threat of violence was a daily reality, and it left him with a deep-seated anxiety about safety and security. The relationship. In the years leading up to that fateful night, Oscar had begun a relationship with Reeva Steenkamp, a South African model and law graduate. Their relationship was, by all outward appearances, a loving one. Friends and family described them as a picture-perfect couple. But beneath the surface, there were tensions. Oscar's possessiveness and jealousy sometimes clashed with Reeva's independent spirit. The drama. On the night of February 13, 2013, the couple attended a small gathering, and by all accounts, the evening was uneventful. But as they returned home, something changed. In the early hours of Valentine's Day, neighbors reported hearing loud arguments coming from Pistorius's house. These were followed by the sound of gunshots. Oscar Pistorius later claimed that he believed an intruder had entered his home. South Africa's high crime rates had conditioned him to react swiftly to any perceived threat. He said that he mistook Reeva for an intruder locked in the bathroom and without hesitation fired 4 shots through the door. The crime scene told a different story. Reeva had been hit by 3 of the 4 bullets. The trajectory of the bullets, the positions of the wounds, each detail was scrutinized by forensic experts. Why did Oscar, a man known for his sharp reflexes and careful consideration on the track, act so impulsively that night? Why did he not check to see where Reeva was before firing? The investigation was thorough, and as it unfolded, more disturbing details emerged. Neighbors testified that they heard a woman's screams before the shots were fired. These screams, they said, were desperate, filled with terror. If Reeva had been the one screaming, then the timeline of Oscar's account didn't add up. The trial. The trial of Oscar Pistorius was a spectacle, gripping not just South Africa, but the entire world. The courtroom was a battleground where the prosecution and defense fought over the narrative of what had happened that night. Was it a tragic accident, a case of mistaken identity, or was it premeditated murder driven by jealousy and rage? Pistorius's defense hinged on the argument of mistaken identity and his deep-seated fear of crime. His lawyers painted a picture of a man living in constant fear, a fear that led him to react impulsively when he believed his life was in danger. They argued that Oscar's actions, though tragic, were not born of malice, but of terror. But the prosecution countered with a different narrative. They pointed to Oscar's history of volatile behavior, his quick temper, and his obsessive control over Reeva. Text messages between the couple were presented as evidence, showing moments of tension and conflict. Reeva had confided in friends about her fears regarding Oscar's mood swings. She had described him as possessive and sometimes unpredictable. As the trial progressed, it became clear that this was more than just a legal battle. It was a psychological drama, exploring the dark corners of human emotion, love, fear, jealousy, and the fragility of the human psyche. Pistorius was no longer just an athlete. He was a man stripped bare, his vulnerabilities and flaws laid out for the world to see. After months of testimony, analysis, and media scrutiny, the verdict was delivered. Oscar Pistorius was found guilty, first of culpable homicide, later upgraded to murder after a lengthy appeal process. He was sentenced to 13 years and 5 months in prison. The once celebrated Blade Runner had fallen from grace, his legacy forever tainted by the events of that fateful night. The fall. But what does this story tell us about the nature of fear and the human condition? Oscar Pistorius's journey from hero to convicted murderer is not just a tale of personal tragedy. It is a reflection on the complexities of human emotion, the thin line between love and obsession, between protection and violence. Oscar Pistorius will one day leave prison, but he will never escape the shadow of that night. The world will remember him not just for his achievements on the track, but for the choices that led to Reeva Steenkamp's death. It is a story that forces us to question the stories we tell ourselves, the narratives we create to justify our actions. In the end, the story of Oscar Pistorius is a cautionary tale. It reminds us that even the most celebrated heroes are human, capable of making tragic mistakes. It is a story that leaves us with more questions than answers, a story that lingers in the mind long after the final sentence has been spoken. Reeva Steenkamp. As we reflect on this story, let us not forget Reeva Steenkamp's legacy and the impact of her death on those who loved her. It is a poignant reminder of the human lives at the center of every news story and the enduring scars left behind. If this story captivated you, don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the most compelling and tragic stories of our time. Until next time, stay curious and stay safe.